Chile, so used to geological upheavals, faces a vastly changed political landscape after a progressive alliance surged ahead in Sunday's general election, and left conservative presidential frontrunner Sebastián Piñera facing a tough fight in December's runoff. Piñera, a billionaire and former president, had been widely expected to cruise to victory, and possibly even win outright in the first round. He still took first place, taking 36% of the vote, but faced a strong challenge by two main left-wing rivals who between them won 43%. Former TV news anchor Alejandro Gillier, who heads a center-left alliance, came second in the presidential race, but the real political earthquake was the emergence of a new political force, the Frente Amplio, or Broad Front, whose roots can be traced to student protests that shook the country in 2011. Often compared to the Podemos movement in Spain, the FA is an anti-establishment alliance of left-liberal parties, ecologists, humanists and grassroots organizations. Among the movement's demands are the replacement of Chile's neoliberal economic model together with a Pinochet constitution, broad changes to the country's pension system and major reforms in health, education, workers' rights and wages. Led by Beatriz Sanchez, a 46-year-old journalist who came third with 20% of the popular vote, Frente Amplio will now also control 12% of the 155-seat Chamber of Deputies. According to political scientist Claudio Fuentes, the main outcome of the election is a fragmented parliament polarized between the right and left, and a complex, unpredictable scenario for the second-round presidential vote in which the FA finds itself a reluctant kingmaker. After this triumph by Frente Amplio, the main issue is what proportion of that vote will now go to Alejandro Gillier, said Fuentes. Piñera will present a more moderate image to try and win over wavering centrists. Frente Amplio supporters now face a choice: do they swing behind a Gillier coalition, which includes some of the parties in the current coalition government led by Michelle Bachelet, or do they carry on as radical independents and focus on building a popular base? Sunday's election was also marked by a high level of voter abstention, continuing a trend witnessed in presidential elections 4 years ago when just under half of the electorate turned out to vote. The main problem in Chile is a growing disaffection. Many people simply don't have any interest in or identify with the country's politicians, said Claudia Heiss, a political science professor at the University of Chile. Such frustration with the political class motivated many of the reforms introduced during the present Bachelet government. One such reform was a gender quota law, and women have certainly witnessed a strong improvement in the representation in the country's parliament. Female deputies in the lower chamber jumped from 16 to 23%, with a similar hike in the country's Senate. According to Marcela Rios, National Officer for Democratic Governance at the UNDP in Santiago, we've never had an increase of more than 2 or 3% before in the Congress, so this is really significant.